The prayer Jesus prayed before miracles, why churches rarely mention it. There are moments in life when words fail us, when the weight of waiting presses so heavily on the chest that even prayer feels fragile. Moments when faith is no longer loud or confident, but quiet, trembling, almost whispered. You may be carrying one of those moments right now. A sickness that hasn't moved, a door that refuses to open, a promise that feels delayed beyond explanation, and deep down there is a cry in your spirit that says, "Lord, I know you can, but will you?" The Bible reveals something profound about Jesus in those moments. Before blind eyes opened, before dead bodies stirred, before bread multiplied and storms fell silent, before power flowed from heaven to earth, Jesus paused. He did not rush. He did not perform. He did not react to pressure or desperation. He prayed, and not with panic, not with fear, not with uncertainty, but with a sacred stillness that came from knowing exactly who he was speaking to. This matters more than we realize, because the prayer life of Jesus was not an accessory to his miracles, it was the source of them. The world saw the power, but heaven saw the posture. The crowds saw the results, but the Father saw the relationship, and hidden within those quiet moments of prayer is a pattern that still unlocks heaven today. You are not listening to this by accident. Something in your spirit is hungry, not just for answers, but for alignment. Not just for a miracle, but for the God who performs them. And the truth is, many of us want the outcome without understanding the communion that precedes it. We want the breakthrough, but we skip the surrender. We want the blessing, but we rush past the place where Jesus always began. This is not about memorizing words. It's not about repeating a formula. It's about entering the same heart posture Jesus carried when he stood before impossibility and calmly reached toward heaven, when he acknowledged the Father before addressing the problem, when he trusted before he spoke, when he gave thanks before anything changed. If you are weary, this message is for you. If your faith feels stretched thin, this message is for you. If you've been praying and wondering if God is still listening, stay here, lean in, because the same prayer posture that released miracles through Jesus is still recognized in heaven today, and God has not changed. Number 1, the sacred pattern behind every miracle. Jesus never treated miracles as spontaneous reactions to human need. They were never rushed responses to urgency, nor emotional answers to pressure. Every miracle flowed from something deeper, quieter, and far more intentional. Before power moved outward, alignment happened inward. Before heaven touched earth, Jesus positioned himself in communion with the Father. This is the pattern we often miss. We see the miracle and assume it began at the moment of action. But Scripture reveals it began in the unseen place of prayer. Jesus did not act independently. He lived in perfect awareness of the Father's will. His prayers were not attempts to persuade God. They were expressions of unity with God. That unity became the channel through which divine power flowed. What made his miracles extraordinary was not only what he did, but how he approached impossibility. He never allowed the size of the problem to dictate the posture of his heart. Whether facing 5 loaves and 2 fish or a tomb sealed with death, Jesus responded the same way by anchoring himself in relationship. He understood something vital. Miracles are born where obedience and intimacy meet. This sacred pattern confronts us gently but firmly. Many of us pray from urgency, fear, or desperation. Jesus prayed from trust. We pray trying to get God's attention. Jesus prayed knowing he already had it, and that difference changes everything. Heaven responds not to panic, but to alignment, not to volume, but to surrender. When you begin to see miracles as outcomes of relationship rather than rewards for effort, your entire prayer life shifts. Prayer becomes less about convincing God to act and more about positioning yourself to receive what He already desires to release. Jesus showed us that before anything changes around us, something must first be settled within us. Number 2, Jesus looked up, the posture of total dependence. Before the miracle unfolded, Jesus lifted His eyes. That small, almost overlooked detail carries enormous spiritual weight. Looking up was not a gesture for the crowd, it was a declaration of dependence. In that moment, Jesus was silently proclaiming, "This does not come from me alone, this flows from the Father." Looking up is the opposite of striving. It is the posture of someone who knows where help truly comes from. Jesus, though fully divine, chose to model reliance. He did not look at the lack. He did not measure the impossibility. He fixed His gaze on heaven, reminding everyone present and every believer to come that miracles are never sourced from human limitation. This posture teaches us something deeply personal. When life presses in, our instinct is to look around, to circumstances, to people, to ourselves. Jesus looked up. He redirected focus before releasing power, and in doing so, He revealed that faith is not denying reality, it is choosing which reality has authority. Looking up recenters the soul. It silences fear and aligns the heart with truth. It says, "I may not have enough, but I know the one who does." That posture of trust invites divine intervention because it honors God as the source, not the backup plan. When you lift your eyes in prayer, you are doing more than asking. You are surrendering control. You are acknowledging that the solution does not rest in your strength, wisdom, or timing. And heaven responds to that humility. Jesus showed us that miracles are released, not when we grasp tighter, but when we look higher. Number 3. Thanksgiving before the breakthrough. One of the most startling elements of Jesus' prayer life is this. He gave thanks before anything changed, before the bread multiplied, before Lazarus walked out, before the impossible bowed. Gratitude came first, not after the evidence, not after confirmation, before. This kind of thanksgiving is not emotional optimism. It is spiritual certainty. Jesus thanked the Father because He already knew the Father had heard Him. Thanksgiving was not a reaction to the miracle. It was an affirmation of relationship. It declared trust before proof appeared. This challenges the way we often pray. We thank God after He answers. Jesus thanked God because He trusted the answer was already settled in heaven. That kind of gratitude silences fear and exposes doubt for what it is, a question God has already answered. When you give thanks in the middle of uncertainty, you are not ignoring the problem. You are placing it beneath the authority of God. Thanksgiving becomes a prophetic act. It says, "I may not see it yet, but I know who you are." And heaven responds to that kind of faith, because it honors God's nature, not just His power. Gratitude shifts the atmosphere. It lifts the heart out of desperation and anchors it in trust. Jesus showed us that thanksgiving is not the conclusion of faith, it is its foundation, and when gratitude rises, miracles are no longer forced, they are welcomed. Number 4. Intimacy with the Father, not performance for people. Jesus was never praying for the crowd, even when surrounded by people. His prayers were directed toward one voice, one presence, one relationship. He was not trying to sound spiritual. He was not performing holiness. He was communing with the Father. This is where true power is born, in the secret place. Long before public miracles unfolded, private intimacy was established. Jesus withdrew to pray. He separated Himself to listen. He made space for communion, and that closeness shaped everything He did publicly. The miracles were simply the overflow of a private relationship. Authority flowed from intimacy. Confidence came from connection. Jesus knew the Father, and because he knew him, he trusted him completely. That trust removed the need for display, exaggeration, or religious performance. This confronts us gently but truthfully. Many believers pray louder in public than they listen in private. Jesus reversed that. He listened deeply so he could speak boldly, and when he spoke, heaven backed his words. God is not moved by how spiritual we appear. He is drawn to sincerity, humility, and closeness. When prayer becomes relationship instead of ritual, power follows naturally. Jesus didn't chase miracles. He pursued the Father, and miracles followed him. Number 5. Authority rooted in obedience, not volume. Jesus never raised his voice to convince heaven. He never pleaded, argued, or begged. His authority did not come from how strongly he spoke, but from how fully he obeyed. Every word he released carried weight because his life was already surrendered. Obedience was the soil from which his authority grew. Jesus lived in complete alignment with the Father's will, and that alignment gave his words power. When he spoke, creation responded, not because of the sound of his voice, but because heaven recognized his obedience. This exposes a deep misunderstanding many carry into prayer. We assume that louder prayers mean stronger faith. Jesus showed the opposite. Heaven responds to yielded hearts, not raised voices. Authority is not emotional intensity, it is spiritual positioning. When your life is aligned with God, your prayers don't have to fight for attention. Obedience settles the question before it is ever asked. Jesus trusted the Father so completely that he did not need to persuade him. He simply participated in what the Father was already doing. There is a quiet confidence that comes from obedience. It steadies the soul. It removes anxiety from prayer. It allows you to speak from rest instead of fear. Jesus revealed that when obedience precedes prayer, authority follows naturally. Number 6. Faith that speaks after prayer, not before. Jesus never spoke prematurely. He prayed first. He listened. He aligned. And then, only then, he spoke with absolute certainty. His words were not hopeful guesses. They were heaven-informed declarations. This order matters. Prayer was the place where faith was clarified, where fear was silenced, where the will of the Father was settled in his spirit. By the time Jesus spoke, there was no hesitation left. The authority of heaven was already resting on his words. Many of us reverse this process. We speak first and pray later. We declare things we are unsure about, hoping faith will catch up. Jesus waited until communion had done its work, and because of that, his words carried finality. When faith is born in prayer, it is unshakable. It does not depend on circumstances or outcomes. It rests in knowing God has spoken, even if the world has not yet responded. Jesus modeled a faith that flows from intimacy, not impulse. Learning to wait in prayer changes how you speak. Your words become fewer but heavier, calmer but stronger. And when you speak from that place, heaven stands behind what you say. Number 7. What this prayer pattern means for your life today. What Jesus modeled was never meant to remain distant or unreachable. His prayer life was not reserved for divine moments only. He could access it was an invitation, an open door, a living example of how heaven still responds to hearts that choose alignment over anxiety, trust over turmoil, surrender over striving. This pattern changes how you face your own impossibilities. It teaches you to pause before reacting, to lift your eyes before you lift your voice, to give thanks before you see results, to seek intimacy before solutions, to obey before you demand, to pray until your spirit is settled, and only then speak. When you begin to pray like this, something shifts inside you even before anything changes around you. Fear loses its grip. Desperation loosens its hold. You stop chasing miracles and start walking with the miracle giver. And in that place, peace replaces pressure. This doesn't mean the waiting disappears, but it becomes meaningful. You begin to trust that silence does not mean absence. Delay does not mean denial. You learn to rest in the confidence that if Jesus prayed this way before releasing power, then this posture is still honored in heaven today. God is not asking you to be perfect. He is inviting you to be present, to come not with rehearsed words, but with a yielded heart, to stop striving and start abiding, because miracles still flow from that place, not always instantly, but always purposefully. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. And the same Father who heard Jesus is listening to you now. Conclusion. Returning to the place where miracles begin. At the heart of every miracle Jesus performed was not urgency, but relationship. Not fear, but trust. Not performance, but intimacy. He showed us that the greatest power available to a believer is not found in striving harder, but in surrendering deeper. If you are waiting, keep praying, but pray differently. Lift your eyes, give thanks, draw close, obey quietly, listen patiently. Speak only when peace has settled your spirit. Heaven still recognizes that posture. God still honors that kind of prayer. And even if the miracle hasn't manifested yet, something sacred is already happening within you. Faith is being refined, trust is being deepened, relationship is being strengthened, and that in itself is a miracle. Stay faithful in the posture Jesus modeled, because the God who answered him has not changed, and the prayer that opened heaven then still opens heaven now.